Good evening, everybody. Elizabeth Diamond here. Ow! That cat grabbed my ankle. Elizabeth Diamond here for the Diamonds Network, founder of Diamonds Network, and this is Thursday, me and Candy Shop Candy show, where she'll be talking about Anastasia and the Raw group a little bit tonight. And I'm going to start out with reading and continuing to read Sunshine Before the Dawn by Judy Satori. And that's the true story of why we're here on Earth, in humanity. We read the prologue in chapters 1 through, let's see what we're on, 1 through 8. And tonight we're going to read chapter 9, The Golden Key. Woohoo! I found that interesting when I got a fax from heaven or an upload from heaven. I read that on Monday's show, that the Diamonds Network energy is the golden key to unlock the separation from our galactic brothers and sisters, the physicality of that, the spirituality of that, the mentality, and the emotionality of that. That means bringing unity with humanity and our galactic brothers and sisters face to face on a spiritual level, emotional level, and a mental level. And isn't that cool? So when I got that meditation, then I suddenly thought of the book I was reading, and the next chapter is called The Golden Key. Wow, right? So anyway, before we get started, does anybody would like to come in and say hi or anything, any news that they want to bring in? *6, the room's open. And anytime if I do get knocked off, you hear silence, somebody can come in and say hi. I'll come right back. Or at any time, the room is open. If I am breaking up, you guys let me know as I'm reading this. All right. So.
Hey, wait. I want to just come and say hi. This is Misty. I just want to say hello. Looking forward to your reading.
There you are, Misty. Okay, hi.
Hi.
You let me know if I get any breakup. Oh, let me move this chair.
I'll try. Hi, yeah, okay.
Okay. I'm just trying to get this light. It's a little dark in here. All right, so welcome everybody coming in. It's Elizabeth Diamond. We're going to start on chapter 9, The Golden Key, Sunshine Before the Dawn. And Candy will be here too.
Yes, I will.
There she is. Now, just so you know that I did blog chapters 1, or the prologue, plus Chris's channeling for these beings in this book, and chapter 1 through 8, and that is on the blog. They're tube chops. And Candy, you should do the same for your Anastasia. I can help you if you want. So I'll be adding chapter 9 to that. So we have a record, and if you've missed any chapters being read, you can go back to that blog and listen to the chapters you missed. This is very important. And these chapters have been seeming to go with, what we're going on in the Diamonds Network. Candy, do you have any news you want to bring in or anything you want to say before I start reading?
Oh, okay. I'm going to do a little bit of the Law of One as well as Anastasia tonight. And,
that's what I told you.
Yeah, and as far as the candy jar, I had a great day. I'll share with my friends that I advertised in my farm for women only, and the second woman joined me today.
Wow.
So, yeah, her name is Amy, and she's 45, and I think she might get interested in the Diamond Show someday. Anyway, it's woman power down here in Southwest Missouri.
Well, thank you, Candy, and I really honor you that you're a go-getter. You go in and getting one at a time and let them know about the Diamonds Network. That is love. Sweet, sweet Candy love. Thank you, Candy, for your service.
Thank you.
In service to others, like the Raw group says. Okay, well, let me start reading, you guys. Chapter 9, The Golden Key, Sunshine Before the Dawn. Essiana took comfort in the thought that her energy would forevermore be mingled with Mastiana's, and when he arrived, she was smiling. He gazed at her lovingly and thought to himself that in all the years of knowing her, he had never seen her look so radiant. He wished he could hold her in his arms as he had in the cottage in the Emerald Hills, but he kept these thoughts to himself. He busied himself with being attentive to the needs of his guests and leaving their bags with two porters who were to bring them to the transporter station, ushered the Syrians toward the Khana and their journey home. When they arrived at the station, there were many people gathered to say farewell to the Syrians. The Lyrian women they had worked with in the halls of the Dreamtime were there, along with many high-ranking Lyrian dignitaries. Mastiana made a short speech of farewell, and then he led the group to the transporter chamber. He said goodbye to each of them as they stepped inside, and the last to enter the chamber was Essiana. They looked deeply into each other's eyes and smiled with an intimacy that would have spoken volumes to anyone close enough to observe. As Essiana entered the chamber, Mastiana held out a gift, a small parcel wrapped in silver tissue. "Unwrap it when you're back on Sirius," said Mastiana, pressing the small package into her hands. Essiana put the gift into the bodice of her dress and stepped inside the chamber. The doors closed. They all held their breath and waited. In an instant, their bodies vanished, and the transporter chamber was empty. Well, that's what we're going to be doing. That's going to be our main mode of transportation, transporting and translocating, guys. That's already set up in this world of Earth and is yet to be released to us. But the Galactics promise they'll be releasing all this, little by little, all this technology that's been built for this space program. We asked them, and they're bringing it on. Essiana put the gift into the bodice of her dress and stepped inside the chamber. The doors closed, and they all held their breath and waited. In an instant, their bodies vanished, and the transporter chamber was empty. When they next opened their eyes, they were back in the transporter chamber on Sirius. Essiana could see her father, Asemius, smiling at her through the glass-like walls. Many people were there to greet them. They clustered around with cries of welcome. Later that day, Essiana flew in her spacemobile to her house in the mountains of the Morning Star. They were all to have a few days to rest and readjust to the energy of Sirius before beginning the next phase of their work. Essiana took with her Mastiana's gift. She wanted to open it when she was alone in her mountain home. It was very late in the day when she arrived, and she quickly carried inside the few things she brought with her. She felt very grateful that her friend Melinda, who lived in these hills, had gone to the house the previous day. Anticipating Essiana's late arrival, Melinda had left her some food. Essiana poured herself a large glass of pea-sear juice and made a meal of vegetables and nuts. She carried the food on a tray to the triangular window that looked out at the mountains and at the smaller twin star of Sirius B twinkling at her from the sky. From her bag, she took the tissue-wrapped package. Inside the tissue was a golden key. She had no idea why Mastiana would give her a key or what it was to open. She turned it over in her hand. Sorry, the cats. Okay. The bow of the key, the part to hold while turning the key in a lock, was a very intricate design with strange writing in a language she did not recognize. This writing continued down the keyblade. She ran her fingers over the words and felt energy, like a wave of love, rushing into her heart. It felt like Mastiana's energy, as if he were close to her. Rummaging through the tissue wrapping, she found a note and read it. My darling Essiana, this golden key is the key to my heart, but it is also the key to another place. Guard it carefully and take it with you to Earth. It will protect you and guide you where you need to go. But most importantly, it will bring you back to me, Mastiana. Sorry, my book's falling. Okay. Come on, Elizabeth. She found a chain and hung the key around her neck. Then, exhausted by her long and emotional day, she fell asleep. The following day was far advanced when Essiana woke up crying. She had been dreaming of Mastiana, and just as she saw him come toward her, he disappeared. She was alone in her cottage on Sirius. She soon stopped crying, however, when she heard a voice calling her from outside the window. Up the stone steps came Melinda. Her friend was bringing her a huge bunch of flowers, and as Essiana dressed, Melinda took a vase from the shelves and began to arrange the bouquet. When Essiana came downstairs, Melinda had prepared lunch for them both. Essiana sat down at the table and began to tell her friend the story of her stay on Lyra. She didn't tell Melinda about her night with Mastiana or about the golden key he had given her. Somehow, telling Melinda about Mastiana felt too private and personal. Instead, she told her friend all about the Blue Palms Hotel, the Kana transport system, the trip to the Lyrian Stargate, and about working with the Lyrian women in the halls of Dreamtime. Melinda sat entranced, chin in her hands with her elbows propped up on the table in Essiana's living room. She discussed the next stage of Essiana's work, including her upcoming trip to Earth to visit the colony of Atlantis. Essiana explained that she was very excited as she had wanted to visit Earth for a long time. She told Melinda about the many images she had seen of the land itself and the Earth people, and the stories her father Asemius had told her. Asemius was also to go to Earth with Essiana and the others. He wanted to carry out research on the vegetation of that world. They were to go to Earth in 90 decans, one cosmic month. So after these few days resting in the mountains, she and her team would be busy preparing for the journey. There was a great deal to do. Melinda told her friend that she had heard much news of the Palladian colony of Mu, that's Lemuria, during the time Essiana had been on Lyra. The Syrian people had heard the stories of the fallen angels and how they had corrupted the people of Earth. They shuddered at what could have happened if the angels, who had turned their backs on God, had decided to prey on Sirius. As a result, many souls from Sirius had already volunteered to release their Syrian lives and be reborn on Earth into the civilizations of either Mu or Atlantis, part of this great experiment in the upgrading of consciousness. Mu, which is Lemuria, in the southern seas of the earth, was founded on the tenets of peace, love, and unity with all life, as was Atlantis. Those from the stars who had decided to go to Earth to begin a long cycle of physical experience believed with all their hearts that they were contributing to the forward progress of the Earth. They believed that their energy and their more evolved level of consciousness would be of assistance. Essiana hoped that she would also be able to visit Mu while she was on Earth, and told her friend all about the research her team from Sirius was to do before they could design the new human being and go to Earth. What we really must do is make sure that this new human design will mesh well with the genetic codes of the indigenous people already on the Earth, explained Essiana. It is very important that we get this balance absolutely correct and make sure that the human we create also adjusts well to the Earth environment. They will have the part that is of God-given. They will have the part that is of God, given to us by the Elohim, implanted into their DNA, so that they will always have access to the guidance of the soul. In this way, only free will thought can corrupt them. Other races who might wish to dominate and control them will not be able to subvert them against their will. Then the influence of the fallen angels of Marjarelko and his like can be overcome forever. This is an ingenious plan, exclaimed Melinda. It is perfect in its design. It really cannot fail. Yes, agreed Essiana. We have given much thought to how this genetic upgrade might play out in the ages to come. We see times of darkness for the earth, probably many more times that the earth will be cast down in these 4 great ages. Now, this is in the past, what we've already gone through, you guys, that they're talking about. Ages to come. Eventually, the numbers of people on the earth who resonate with love and peace will swell to such an extent that this consciousness will overtake the other darkness, and the earth and the people of the earth, the humans, will finally be free. Of course, you must understand that those who make the sacrifice to go to earth to help toward this plan will also take into their own souls, energies, the genetic template of the new human being that we are designing. Therefore, if you or I, Melinda, decided to incarnate on Earth, we would take this genetic code into our morphogenetic field. In time, our souls would also be free to move between dimensions and live in any of the 12-dimensional worlds in the lower heavens. She thought suddenly of Anastasia, and her eyes clouded. Melinda watched her friend with some concern. She had noticed Essiana's tear-stained face when she arrived, and she knew Essiana well enough to know that something had happened on Lyra that had touched her deeply, but that she obviously didn't want to talk about it. Melinda put her arms around Essiana and hugged her. She noticed the golden key, but said nothing. If Essiana wanted to tell her what had happened while she had been away, then she would. If not, then it was not Melinda's business to ask. The green mist outside the windows was clearing, and to lighten the mood, Melinda suggested that they take a trip across the lake to some wooded hills beyond. Let's take some food with us and have a picnic, she suggested. Essiana dabbed quickly at her eyes and leaped up from the table. What a good idea, she said. They packed a small bag with snacks and a drink, then got into Essiana's spacemobile and flew out across the lake toward a forest on the far shore. As they flew over the trees, they noticed that some had lost their leaves. This seemed strange, so they flew lower to take a look. They almost skimmed the branches as they circled around. Some of the trees looked as though they had burned. These burnt trees stood in a circle about 300 yards wide. It occurred to Essiana and Melinda that a large circular object had perhaps come down from the sky, and that maybe its propulsion jets had burned the trees, as they were more singed at the top than at the bottom. Looking down from above, it was obvious that the vegetation closest to the forest floor had not burned. Oh, those cats took my glasses. Sorry, guys. That's interesting, says Essiana. I must report this to the council immediately. It doesn't seem that a craft belonging to the Galax could have done this. I wonder whether it was one of our starships. No, they are so huge. They couldn't come this close to the land. I can't see any other sign of life here, but let's go a little further and land over there on that grassy mound. Then we can walk the short distance into the forest to take a better look at the burnt trees. Essiana brought her craft down on a grassy knoll, a short distance away, and using the communication system she kept inside her spacemobile, she spoke with someone at the Syrian Council about the burnt trees. Mostly the Syrians used telepathy to communicate, but they also had sophisticated communication systems to be used in an emergency like this. Then she and Melinda began to walk toward the trees. As they stepped into the forest, Essiana immediately sensed that all was not well. They looked at each other with silently communicating the same question with their eyes. Do you think we should go further? It doesn't feel good here. Anastasia took Melinda's arm and walked a few paces forward, listening intently. All was still. They tentatively took a few more steps into the forest. Then they heard a sound. Large, rough hands shot out of the undergrowth and grabbed them from behind. Hands were clapped over their mouths so they could not scream or call for help. They were pulled backwards into the undergrowth before they finally being deposited in a heap at the feet of a very tall man with a shock of bright red hair. The red-haired giant, he seemed immense. Oh. Okay, he seemed immense. Being about 14 feet tall, looked at them and laughed. The men who had grabbed them also laughed. They stood in a circle looking down at the two women. Anastasia and Melinda were too shocked and frightened to speak. They just sat, winded and bruised, staring up at their captors. Then the red-haired leader began to speak in the universal language of light spoken throughout the cosmos. He spoke haltingly as if he did not know the language well, but well enough for Anastasia and Melinda to understand what he was saying. "We do not wish to harm you," he began. "You are not at all what we expected to find in this forest. We are waiting here to meet with members of the Syrian Council. They are expecting us to come, and we have been waiting here for 3 deacons already. Who are you, and why are you here?" Anastasia struggled to her feet and wiped the dust from her clothing. "My name is Anastasia, and this is my friend Melinda. I am a member of the Syrian Council, but we are not the ones you're looking for. We were just walking in the forest. We saw the burnt trees and came to investigate. Where are you from? Where is your craft?" "We are from the planet Kronos, which lies in the tail of the constellation called the Serpent," said the red-haired giant. "We are sorry we frightened you, but when we heard you coming and we could not see you properly because of the green mist and the darkness of the forest, we thought perhaps we were being ambushed and that the overtures of the friendship extended to us by the Syrians were a trap." "But why are you here in the forest?" asked Melinda. "This place is a long way from the Syrian cities. Why have you come here?" "Because your council specifically asked us to come to this place," said the giant. "We could not bring our craft to your cities as they are surrounded by a protective force field, an impenetrable dome. To bring us to the ground, our craft had to come close enough so that we were able to make the final part of the trip in our transport vehicle." He pointed to a vehicle that was parked some distance away, almost visible between some trees at the edge of the forest. It was a strange-looking craft with a very pointed front section, becoming much wider at the back, dark green color with unusual symbols painted on the side. "We came to this area because our transport vehicle would not be seen easily within the green mists of these mountains, and because we need to meet the Syrian Council members in secret," said the giant. "We are feeling extremely frustrated and annoyed that they have not appeared. We have come a long way for this meeting. When we saw the burnt trees from the air, I reported this to the council," said Anastasia. "I will tell them now that you have come and why you are here." She wanted to see what effect this statement would have on the 3 from Kronos. It would help her assess the truth of what they said. "You need to speak to Voltaire," said the giant. Anastasia knew that Voltaire was the leader of the security force on Sirius. She did not know him personally, but she knew that he would know who she was and trust her words. "What is your name?" she asked the giant. "Kaznar," he said. He introduced his companions. "My comrades are Klexos and Abydos." Klexos and Abydos did not have red hair, but they were just as tall as their leader. They were big men who looked quite like the Syrians in appearance, except for their height and much larger overall size. The Syrians were a tall race. Most of the people were between 6 and 7 feet tall, but much smaller than the 3 from Kronos. Together with the visitors, Anastasia and Melinda walked back to their spacemobile, and this time Anastasia spoke directly to Voltaire. The leader of the Syrian security forces sounded calm, but yet there was an underlying tone of anxiety in his voice. He explained to Essiana that the people from Kronos were expected in another part of the mountains of the Morning Star, and that when they had not arrived, the council had become concerned and had mounted a search. After Essiana's earlier message, they had focused their search more toward the area of the burnt trees and would be there shortly. Voltaire said that he himself was on his way to meet with Kaysnar and that he would like to speak with him in person to explain the situation. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I'm on here. All right, I'm on. I heard it. All right. Explain the situation. Essiana and Melinda relaxed. They sat down on the grass to wait. Kaysnar spent some time apologizing for being so rough with them, explaining that was only because he and his companion had waited so long with no word from the Syrians that he had grown suspicious. He told Essiana and Melinda stories about what it was like to live on Kronos, explaining that his planet was one of 4 that circled around the central sun, rather like the solar system of the Earth. He told the women it was very important that he and the others from Kronos meet with the Syrian Council, because he had information that a group of intergalactic invaders was seeking to take over and perhaps destroy other planets and civilizations within the galaxy. They had already infiltrated the security systems of the Galactic Federation in some of the outer regions of the galaxy, and they were advancing. The Earth is in an outer region of the galaxy, said Essiana. Do you think it will be attacked? I don't know, said Kaysnar, but we must seek out and defeat these invaders now before they harm the delicate balance of life here in this galaxy. We know that your people and the Palladians have established colonies on the Earth. We have also sent a delegation to Palladians to warn their council. We must all take action within the Federation, and our starships must be sent to intercept these invaders and either force them to leave our airspace or destroy them. Essiana and Melinda, you know of only peace and love, but you must understand that all life forms do not subscribe to these beliefs. Some of the life forms that have evolved in other star systems and in other galaxies are not of the one. They seek only to control and destroy. They have no real motivation except domination, and they rule through fear. Sounds familiar. We noticed strange starships within our airspace, and we realized that they were not of our galaxy. One of our starships that tried to investigate and communicate peacefully with these invaders was destroyed. Over 1,000 of our people died in this disaster. So we now know that the motive of these strange-looking craft is to destroy and cause harm. Our nations must band together to chase these beings from our galaxy of light and ensure that they do not return. Wow, they're having the same story that kind of worked. You know, now the humans are banding with the galactics and using the law of one for the highest good of all concerned. And now, you know, this story we're reading now, and now we're making it easier for everybody. Maximum efficiency, minimum effort. With Chris helping us bring the galactics, and now his mom and others will come along. And with the law of one from Cynthia. Thank you, guys. And can't imagine when others all group together like Chris and his mom and our galactics. It's going to really be a fun ride. Okay, Essiana felt chilled and afraid for the Earth. Okay, where was it? Okay, Essiana felt chilled and afraid for the Earth. She really didn't know what to say. How do you recognize these starships? Asked Melinda. You said they looked strange. What do you mean? Their ships are black, said Kaysnar. They are shaped like long tubes, and they have yellow markings on the sides. They travel very quickly from one place to the next, and when they are still, they disappear so they can't be seen. This is why they are so dangerous. Over the trees from the other side of the mountains, Essiana saw 3 small airships of the Syrian Airspace Patrol approaching. They were flying low over the trees. She stood up and waved, as did the others, and in a short time the 3 craft were circling above them. Slowly and gently, descended vertically straight down to the meadow where the group stood. The first to alight was Voltaire. He bowed slightly to Essiana and Melinda, and then extended a hand to Kaisnar, Klexos, and Abydos. Thank you, said Voltaire to the three. We are very sorry that we did not understand your destination and that you have been waiting here on this side of the forest. We did not want to alarm the council or our citizens, so we intended to meet you here. Essiana, it is a pleasure to meet you. I have heard you speak many times at the council meetings, and I am honored to greet you now. This is my friend Melinda, said Essiana, extending her hand to his. We were going to the other side of the forest when we saw the burnt trees and came down to take a look. We both understand the secrecy that must surround these talks, and we will keep this matter confidential. Thank you, said Voltaire. We will go now, said Essiana, as she turned to Kaisnar, Klexos, and Abydos. Thank you for coming here to warn us. I am sure that with the combined forces of the Galactic Federation on our side, we can oust these invaders. Thank you, seconded Melinda. The two women walked toward Essiana's spacemobile and got in. As they flew off, they saw Voltaire and the other members of the Syrian Council looking tense and taut as they talked with the three giant beings. They were so engrossed they did not even glance up as the woman flew off. After this, Essiana and Melinda no longer felt like going on their picnic and flew back to Essiana's house. A pall had fallen over the day, and soon after they arrived, Melinda kissed her friend and said goodbye. Essiana sat for a long time at the triangle window in her bedroom, gazing out at the lake. It was only one spaceship, Kaisnar had said, but one could always mean more, and she felt worried about the Earth colonies of Atlantis and Mu and the people of the Earth. She could not remember this ever happening before during her current lifetime. She had only known peace within these lower worlds of light, although she did remember her people telling stories of galactic wars and planets that were destroyed in previous times. She sighed, if only Mastiana were here to speak to about all this, but he was many light years and many dimensions away. She took the chain with the golden key from around her neck and rubbed the key in her hands. Immediately, she felt Mastiana's energy, a strong, loving energy, build up within her heart and surface throughout her body. She breathed it in, and an image of Mastiana came into her mind as she had last seen him standing outside the transporter chamber, giving her his gift. His black eyes looked at her through the eyes of her memory, and in their warmth, she found peace. Okay, it continues on what the golden key is about in Chapter 10, which Chapter 10 we'll read next time is called Preparation. All right, guys. Anybody have any comments, questions? Come on in. Well, I find my glasses. Okay. Well.
Wow. Is that the source of rumors about red-headed people?
Yeah, remember the giants that we encountered that were in Stacy's that woke up a long time? It seems like a long time ago. It's probably months back with Chris.
Now, which beings were threatening a war at that time?
Oh God, you'd have to go back and listen to the chapter.
That's okay.
I'd have to find it anyway. Yeah, good stuff.
It was good stuff. I know there are 5 or 6 others on the call. Anybody else want to make some comments while I'm getting ready for my part?
Yeah, tell us how you're liking the book. Am I just reading it and just blowing hot air, or are you enjoying it, parts? It's a true story. I'm sure I got the room unlocked. Okay, I was making sure the room's open, so you guys can come in anytime. Candy, are you doing great?
I am.
Are you ready to bring your stuff?
I'm getting that way. I really enjoyed your reading, and I just think this is wonderful, and I'm going to kind of do some more reading rather than discussion to start off with Anastasia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're a little far away, so you're probably getting ready. I got to find my glasses.
Yes.
Kicked under the bed while I was reading. Here they are. Oh. So I did blog a blog today, you guys, and it's the prelude transcribed, written out. The preludes of the Chaos Machine, and then the whole show is with it. So go check that out. Get ready for Monday, March 14th.
Right. Yes. With Chris and his mom.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
I'm still in a state of shock about all the things that we got to accomplish and learn last night on the Candy Shop show with Chris.
Yes.
Things are just happening so rapidly.
Let me see how many chapters are in this book. Wow. I'm on chapter 10, and I read the prologue. I'm not going to read no more tonight, just curious. How many chapters? There's 20. Oh, goodness. Maybe a couple of times we'll read 2 chapters, but anyway, it's really good. So far, so good.
Yeah. For those who love the Anastasia series, I'm going to be reading from book 3 called The Space of Love. If you want to get your book and read along with me and discuss it, that would just be fine. So shall I start, Liz?
Yes, go for it. I'm ready for hear ya.
Okay. Well, this is called The Spirit of a Foremother. A lot of people... So this would be like an ancestor, but a long time before. I realized it one morning, Anastasia said quietly, and her gaze looked as though it was immersing itself in the past. A morning when Vladimir was not at home in the flat he had rented temporarily. I could not find him with my Ray. It was the morning of the day when my foremother went into a dolmen to die many centuries ago. I always think of her on that anniversary. I try to talk with her, and she talks with me. Now, I might explain to people that these dolmens are thousands of years old in Siberia, and there was a group of Anastasia women who went and did a spiritual ceremony at some of them, and are opening them up and getting them accessible to tourists and people who love Anastasia books. That they're more special than a cemetery. And so in the book says, you people are accustomed as well to go to the cemetery on a day you remember your loved ones, to think about them, even talk with them. I can do this without leaving my Niagara glade. My Ray helps me both see and talk at a distance, and they can feel my Ray. On that day, I was thinking about my foremother, trying to talk with her as usual, but I could not sense any reply from her. None at all. She was not responding to me. This had never happened before. Then I tried to locate her dolmen with my Ray. I found it. I shone my Ray upon it with all my might. My foremother did not respond. Something had happened I did not know about. My foremother's spirit was not in the dolmen. These dolmens, long centuries ago, women would go into them when they were near death. That was the normal procedure. Anastasia, please explain what you mean by someone's spirit. What does it consist of? It consists of all the unseen elements in a man, including certain passions and sensations acquired during the period of existence in the flesh. Does a spirit possess an energy analogous to any of the energies we know of? That is correct. It is an energy complex consisting of a multitude of different energies. After the end of a human individual's fleshly existence, certain of these complexes break up into separate energies, which are subsequently used in plant and animal aggregates, as well as in essential natural phenomena. Well, that would be if they weren't embalmed and put in caskets that were supposed to last forever. In the Owaspy teachings, we were taught to cremate and spread ashes, and that's certainly what I did for my husband. What kind of power do they have? What is the energy potential of unbroken complexes? They vary from individual to individual. The weakest ones cannot even overcome gravitational energy. They will later fall apart no matter what. Gravitational, you say? The weakest ones, is it possible to see their presence in anything at all, to touch it, feel it? Of course, in a tornado, for example. A tornado? You mean a tornado which rips trees up by the roots and overturns things? Then what kind of energy do the strongest ones have? Wow. So she's talking about the energy of a spirit, and that the weakest is like a tornado. Okay. The strongest, well, that would be him, with a capital H. I cannot fully fathom the strength of his energy. I think she's implying the Creator or Jesus. Anyway, Vladimir say, then let's say somewhere in between, something average. The energy complex of many average spirits already contains a released mental energy. What would be the strength or energy potential of an average complex like this? I already told you it contains released mental energy. What does that mean? What can it be compared to? How would you define it? To what can it be compared? A definition? Tell me, what is the most powerful energy that your mind, your thought, or your consciousness can imagine? The energy of a nuclear explosion? No, rather the energy of the reactions taking place at the sun's core. Everything you have named is equivalent to but a tiny fraction of released mental energy. As for definitions, Anastasia explained, those yielded, okay, I'm on page 36. Those yielded are things you think up yourselves to use in verbal communication with each other. Not a single definition you have ever thought of is applicable here. You can use the ones you are familiar with if you multiply them to the power of infinity. Tell me, what is the strength of your foremother's energy? It contains released mental energy. How did you find out about your foremother? How and where did she die? After all, that happened 10,000 years ago. That information about my foremother, who went into the dolmen to die, was passed down from generation to generation of her descendants. Did your mother tell you about her? I was only an infant when my mother perished. I was not capable of taking in that kind of information. My grandfather told me all about my forefathers and foremothers. Can her spirit be seen with normal human vision? Partially, if one changes one's spectral perception along with one's inner rhythm. I'm going to repeat that. Can her spirit be seen with normal human vision? Partially, if one changes one's spectral perception along with one's inner rhythm. Is that possible? The phenomenon you know as Daltonism suggests that it is possible. You believe it is something beyond the will of man, that it is merely a disease, but that is not so. Okay, the footnote. Daltonism is a red-green type of color blindness, named after the English chemist John Dalton. in 1800, who was also a teacher of mathematics. His theory of color blindness was published in a paper entitled Extraordinary Facts Relating to the Vision of Colors in Manchester, England in 1798. So color blindness, red-green. You believe it's a disease, but that is not so. Wow. You said your ancestor, your foremother, was worthy enough to have information about her transmitted from generation to generation over the millennia. What makes this information so worthy, so valuable? My foremother was the last from our pristine origins who knew what a woman should think about during the breastfeeding of an infant and had the ability to do so. Wow. You know, I breastfed my children, so that was a total of 10 years. I tried to think positive thoughts and envision my children having all the positive characteristics and things, but I must say I was distracted and could have used Anastasia's help, but those were in the days before her book even came out in Russian. Civilization was gradually losing sight of the knowledge people had 10,000 years ago, and it has all but disappeared completely today. My foremother was by no means an old woman, but she went into the dolmen to die in order to preserve all this knowledge of our pristine origins. And when people's awareness begins to be restored, people will become aware of the need to transmit this knowledge to nursing mothers. And after that, they will help each other learn everything. Through her death in the dolmen, my foremother learned even greater truths that women need to know. Why did she decide to go into a dolmen? How does a dolmen differ from the usual kind of stone tomb? And why did she not wait until she was old before going into the dolmen to die? Was she motivated by an awareness of her goal or simply by superstition? Back then, they had already begun paying less attention to the breastfeeding of infants, and women were not offered the opportunity of entering a dolmen, even if they wished to. The aging leader revered my foremother and comprehended that if he did not accede to her request, the leader-to-be would not listen to her at all, and her intentions he might well dismiss as mere fancy. Wow. What this young mother sacrificed to help our generation. But the menfolk could not be compelled by their leader to build my foremother a dolmen, and so he gave her his own. The men did not approve of the leader's decision and refused to lift the stone slab covering the top so she could go in. So the women got together as one and all night long tried to lift the slab of heavy stone. The next morning at dawn, the old leader came. He did not do much walking anymore, yet still he came, leaning on a staff. The old leader smiled at the women, said some encouraging words, whereupon the heavy slab yielded to the women's upward thrust, and my foremother went in. Wow. So his words helped move the stone. And how does a dolmen differ from an ordinary stone tomb? There's not much difference outwardly, but the dolmen, as you call this stone tomb, was a place where living people went to die. The dolmen was not simply a religious structure, as people tend to think today. It is a monument to wisdom and the great self-sacrifice of one's spirit for the sake of future generations. Even today, it has a significant functional purpose, and the death experienced in one of these dolmens was not an ordinary one. Actually, the word death is not all that appropriate here. I can imagine a living person entombed in a stone chamber. That is really extraordinary. It must have been an extremely torturous death. The people, Anastasia said, who went into the dolmens did not suffer. The peculiarity of their death lay in the fact that they meditated. They meditated on eternity, and in spirit they would remain forever on the earth and even hold on to certain earthly feelings. Wow. But the soul of those who went into a dolmen to die was forever deprived of the possibility of material re-embodiment on the earth. how did they meditate? You are aware today, especially from the ancient Oriental religions, of what meditation is, and there are teachings today that can help one become acquainted with a small fraction of the phenomena of meditation, but not, unfortunately, with its underlying purpose. And today there are people who are capable of meditating, temporarily separating part of the spirit from their body and then returning it to the body. That's part of her definition of meditating. Temporarily be separating part of the spirit from their body and then returning it to the body. Through the help of meditation in the dolmen, even while the body was still alive, the spirit completely separated itself and returned many times while the flesh was still living. That sounds like concentrated astral trips, doesn't it? After that, the spirit remained forever in the dolmen, continued Anastasia. All alone, it would eternally wait for visitors to impart to them the wisdom of their pristine origins. Even if the flesh succeeded in living a while longer, it was still clustered. But while it was alive, the spirit had the freedom to travel back and forth between different dimensions, which afforded it the opportunity of analyzing at incredible speed the truth that was available, as though clarifying the truth for itself. One who died or entered into eternal meditation through the dolmen knew that his soul or spirit would never again be able to take on a material form. It would never again be able to embody itself in earthly flesh or matter. It would never be able to go far from the dolmen and leave it for any length of time, but it would have the ability to communicate with a particle of the soul of a person living in the flesh who had come to visit the dolmen. And if you talk about a torturous death, about suffering in general, in this case the torture lies in the fact that for millennia now, nobody has come to acquire this knowledge. The great tragedy of the dolmens is the utter lack of demand. That same demand for which, Anastasia, he interrupted, how important do you feel it is for nursing mothers to have this knowledge and ability? Extremely important, she replied. But why, after all, mother's milk feeds only the flesh of an infant? Boy, isn't that something? That young mother sacrificed and went in there hoping to teach generations for thousands of years her truth. And people didn't come. They didn't come to ask. With all the changes that have happened in Siberia in the last 10,000 years. Anyway, at least the women are making the pilgrimage now. Not only the flesh, mother's milk is capable of transmitting a huge quantity of information as well as a keen sensitivity. You must be aware, after all, that every substance includes its own kind of information, its own radiance and vibration. Yes, I know, but how can mother's milk transmit sensitivity? It can. It's extremely sensitive. It is intricately linked to the feelings of the mother. The taste of the milk can change. Mother's milk is so sweet. It's such a wonderful. The taste can change according to her feelings, and stress can even cause the milk to congeal or stop coming altogether. Yes, that can indeed happen. It can. And you say nobody comes to visit your foremother. That means nobody's come over many thousands of years. At first, people came, namely the generations of relatives and people living there. After that, a series of catalysms began happening on the earth. People began migrating. The dolmen remained where it was. But over the past millennia, nobody has come to visit my foremother to find out. Now the dolmens are all being laid waste because people do not know. They don't know the purpose. They don't know that there's to go and to talk to my foremother. In the Ta'agra, when I first talked about the dolmens and my foremother, there was a request to go visit her dolmen. Then I explained how it was impossible to comprehend or feel my foremother's spirit and accept the information she had to give. Men simply do not know the feelings and sensations inherent in a nursing mother. all these millennia, my foremother has been waiting for women, not men, to come see her. But no women have come to her dolmen, and I am the only one to communicate with her once a year. And on that particular day, I wanted to be in contact with her and tell my foremother something good, but I could not. My foremother's spirit was not anywhere close to the dolmen. I had no idea why and began quickly searching with my ray all around in a constantly widening radius, and then all at once I found her. I found her in a ravine among the rocks. Okay, I have misunderstood part of this chapter, folks. She is explaining to a Russian about all of this. She's not talking to Vladimir himself. Okay, so she's talking to Boris, I see. Boris, all at once I found her in a ravine among the rocks. Vladimir was lying on the rocks, unconscious, and my foremother, her spirit was bending over Vladimir, taking form as a conglomeration of invisible energies. I realized then what had happened. I had known even earlier that Vladimir was looking for guides to take him to the Dolmens, located far away from the main road, but he could not find any guides. No one would volunteer to accompany him, and so Vladimir decided to go into the mountains alone. At one point, he fell off the path into a ravine. He was wearing ordinary shoes not suitable for mountain hiking. In fact, he did not have any mountain gear at all. He wanted to be convinced that the Dolmens really existed. He wanted to touch them, and so he went into the mountains alone. On my foremother's Memorial Day, he went to the Dolmens located far away from the road. My foremother did not know why this poorly equipped person had come into the mountains, and she kept her eye on him. And when he slipped and started falling, she suddenly, like a supple mass of air, her spirit swept down to his side. My foremother saved Vladimir's life. Wow, to be saved by a spirit that was 10,000 years old? While he did not actually strike his head on a rock, the many bruises he received in the fall caused him to lose consciousness. My foremother used her supple air mass to hold up his head, as though supporting it in with her hands, and waited for him to regain consciousness. That was why she did not speak with me. Even when Vladimir's consciousness returned, she still did not go back to her dolmen. She remained in the ravine down below. She stayed to watch as Vladimir climbed back up to the path. Later, I realized that my foremother was actually on the path, since stones began rolling out of the way. That was her doing. She had taken on the form of a supple breeze, sweeping the stones away from the mountain path. She wanted to help Vladimir in his descent. I very much wanted to do the same, and so I began to ever so quickly move along the path with my ray so that it wouldn't be so wet and slippery, and Vladimir could get safely back to the place he was staying and treat his wounds. Remember, Anastasia can take her ray, and she can just send it out to an apartment in Moscow and materialize and be seen, and she can. It's just as if her physical body is there, but her physical body is back in the Niagara. I don't know. It's very complicated, and as our friend Christopher Jacobs says, that she is from an extraterrestrial race of beings. But she tried to limit herself and her ET abilities to the kinds of abilities that humans used to have and could have again, as kind of a model, as I understand it. Back to the story. Once Vladimir had climbed back up from the ravine, he sat down on the path and examined the sketch of one of the archaeologists at the museum had drawn for him. Then he got up and started walking with a lamp. So the archaeologist, I guess, had drawn him a sketch as to where this dolmen was. Well, it's not dolmen. It's I think it's dolmen. Yeah, there's not an A in it. It's two syllables. Dolmen. along the dry path that had now been cleared of stones, but the opposite way, upward. I was shocked at this unexpected turn of events, and I believe my foremother did not immediately grasp his intentions either. At this point, he left the path altogether and climbed through a thicket of thorny bushes. I realized he was trying to reach my foremother's dolmen. He succeeded. He sat down on the portico in front of the dolmen at the edge of one of the stone slabs and began unbuttoning his jacket. His arm hurt, and it took him a long time. When his jacket was completely unbuttoned, I could see he had a bouquet of flowers underneath, 3 little roses. The stems of 2 of them were broken. The flowers had been damaged when he fell into the ravine and struck the rocks. Some of the thorns on the stems were blood-covered. He placed the damaged roses on the dolmen's portico and lit a cigarette. And then he said, "Too bad the flowers got smashed. These flowers are for you, my beauty. You must have been a real beauty. Just like Anastasia, you were smart and kind. You wanted to tell our women all about breastfeeding children, only they have no idea you exist. And the fact that your dolmen is so far off the beaten path makes it difficult for women to get here." Then Vladimir took out a shallow little flask of brandy and 2 little metal goblets and pulled out a fistful of squashed candies from his pocket. He poured brandy into the goblets. He drank one of them, placed the other on the dolmen's portico, covering it with a piece of candy, and said, "This is for you, my beauty." Vladimir did everything people do today at cemeteries in Russia when they come to see their loved ones or dear friends. As for my foremother, her spirit kept sweeping around him in the form of an invisible energy mass. She was distraught and did not know what to do. She tried to show some kind of response to Vladimir's words, tried congealing the air into the shape of her body, but her outlines were transparent and barely noticeable. Vladimir did not notice them. He could not see or hear anything. She kept on trying her best to explain everything to him, but could only sweep back and forth in frustration. At one point, her air mass lightly touched the goblet sitting on the portico and overturned it. Vladimir thought a random gust of wind had done this and joked, "Hey, what are you up to, my wayward friend, spilling expensive brandy like that?" And my foremother's spirit fell still in a corner of the dolmen. Vladimir poured some more brandy, placed a little stone on top, and then put another piece of candy on top of that. And again he started talking as though to himself. "We need to get a decent path in here. Just wait a bit. There will be a proper path to your dolmen, and that way women will come to see you. You will tell them everything they need to think about in breastfeeding an infant. Indeed, you must have had very beautiful breasts." Then Vladimir started his descent. It was late at night when he got back to the place he was staying. He sat for a while alone on the sofa in his cold apartment, binding his wounds. Someone had given him a tape to watch, which had been copied and passed around. On the tape, there was a speaker in front of a large audience made up mainly of women. He was talking about God and how strong the spirit of a righteous man could be. Then he started talking about me. He said I was an ideal woman, a role model to which people should aspire. He said that I, Anastasia, had great strength of mind and spirit, and that I was aided by the forces of light, and that now, once I became familiar with the lives of people in the usual world, I would be able to help them. He said a lot of nice things about me, and then all at once, he said that I had not yet met a real man, and that the one I had been in contact was not a real man. Indeed, others had been saying earlier that there was a young man in Australia who was worthy of me, and that he and I would meet, and then I would meet a real man. And Vladimir, he was sitting all alone there listening to this. All this time he was trying with one hand to bind the wounds on his legs. His other hand still hurt too much from the bruises. I reached out to Vladimir at once with my ray. I wanted to warm his wounds and chase his pain away, and to somehow tell him, even though he never hears me when I speak to him in a distance. I thought, well, this time it might work out.
Yes, I thought it might work out this time since my longing for him to hear me was so strong. I wanted him to hear how I loved him, only him, and only he, my dearest, only he is a real man. But I got burnt and thrown back on the ground. Something was preventing my ray from getting through to Vladimir. Once again, I quickly aimed my ray at the room where he was sitting watching the video. And you know what I saw? There in front of him was this invisible energy mass. My foremother was kneeling right in front of him. Vladimir could not see or hear her. He just kept watching the tape. In the meantime, my foremother was warming the wounds on Vladimir's legs with her breath as he was pouring this terribly painful cologne on his wounds. And my foremother tried speaking to him, but he was unable to hear. My foremother is so strong in spirit that nothing invisible could penetrate her. Any psychotropic weapons trained on her will explode. She will hardly pay them any attention. In any case, any attack will be repelled, and there was no way I could interfere. I could only watch. Wow. Just imagine a mother meditating for 10,000 years and being so strong. Anastasia and her foremother demonstrated some of the strength because there was a lot of people that came against Anastasia in the late 1990s. I watched him again thinking ever so quickly, what had happened? How did a situation like this come about? Why was the speaker saying such things? Did he want to help me? Was he trying to explain something? If so, what? Why was my ray so drawn to Vladimir? Naturally, I was afraid that Vladimir might take offense at the words, not a real man, and that he would be jealous of another over me. And then suddenly, oh, how painful it was. It really hurt. And after Vladimir had heard the whole tape, he simply sighed and said, I just hate to read this. All the misunderstanding and communications and things. Vladimir sighed and said, what do you know, a real man in Australia, I heard. Hey, they're going to meet. Maybe then they will give me my son. My ray began trembling. It was as though everything had somehow gone dark. You see, Vladimir was not jealous. Naturally, that is not a good feeling, jealousy. But I wanted to see him jealous, at least a little bit, just a tiny little bit. But here was Vladimir handing me over to another with complete indifference. I could not restrain myself and started to cry. I began asking, pleading with my foremother to tell me what I had done wrong. What mistake had I made? Where had I transgressed? She did not reply until Vladimir had finished binding the last wound. Then she told me sadly, all you had to do was love, daughter dear, to think about what was good for your beloved without elevating yourself in the process. I tried to explain that I did really want only what was good, but once again she quietly said, you wanted something for yourself, daughter dear. Pictures, music, poems, and songs. They will all come to pass. Your dream, Anastasia, is powerful. I know. It is for everyone and for the one you love too. But now it will be more and more difficult for you to obtain earthly love. You are becoming a star. People may admire and love a star as a star, but not as a woman. That was the last thing my foremother said. I lost my sense of self-control. I screamed and tried to explain, to argue. That I did not want to be a star, that I simply wanted to be a woman and to be loved, but nobody could hear me. Please help me. There is a lot I now understand. I am not afraid for myself. I can take care of myself. But it will take Vladimir much longer to understand. And in the meantime, listening to that kind of talk is leading him away from the truth. The distribution of that cassette must be stopped. It suggests to people, including Vladimir, that I am some sort of ideal role model, a star, and that someone else instead of him ought to be with me. I am not a star. I am a woman. I want to love whom I myself want to love. My path is not determined by me alone. I was mistaken. I dreamt things would work out so that people would talk about me, dedicate verses and songs to me, that artists would draw me. And that has all come about. Whenever I dream, my dreams all come true, and this one has too. I am grateful for the verses and songs. I am grateful to the poets, but I was mistaken all along. That was how I dreamed it. The poems are needed, but I was not supposed to become a star. I wanted all that so Vladimir would look at the images, listen to the songs, and remember, so he would remember me. But I did not know this when I was dreaming it. Now I realize I am becoming a star. Everyone looks up to stars, but it is a woman that they love. Anastasia, do you realize what you're asking for? There's no way to stop a cassette from being distributed, especially when it's one people's copy themselves. That's not something you control. Nobody can. You see, you cannot, but Vladimir, he is an entrepreneur, and even if it was said to be uncontrollable, he could still do something, but he does not want to do anything. He is resigned to the assumption that I am not a suitable mate for him. Wow. And that is the end of that chapter. And it seems sad to me that Vladimir even, wrote it in his book there. Of course, mostly he's just channeling from Anastasia. And he seems to want to put it all down. He seems to be motivated to put the good and the bad and let us meditate on it. The next chapter, 6, is called The Forces of Light, and continues there. I've done this a little differently tonight, and I hope people will meditate on it, and maybe in your meditation ask a source to tell you, what should mothers be doing when they're breastfeeding? And so many of us were not breastfed very long, and we didn't have mothers who were sharing and teaching our spirit what they should have when we were being breastfed. And maybe we can go back, like Christopher Jacobs tells us. Maybe we can rewind time, just like we reverse our negative karma from negative past lives. Maybe we should meditate on reversing any negative stressful experiences that our mothers had when they held us to their breast, and that we might learn better now, our spirit, what we should have learned and remembered at that time. Well, that's the thoughts. I think that I'm going to wait to share about the Law of One books. It's very interesting what David Wilcox has written in his books about the Law of One series that was published in the early 1980s. So I'm going to wrap this up about Anastasia this evening. I don't know if anybody wanted to come in and make a comment or a question.
Candy, I wanted to ask if Misty was there, if she could start to come in, too.
Yes, I'd like to hear from Misty or anyone.
Yeah, anybody can come in. If Misty was here, I was going to see if she wanted to read a card for us tonight. Otherwise, she was here earlier. So, anybody else come?
If you're on a cell phone, do *6.
Yeah, the room's unlocked. Everybody likes to listen to our stories that we read, though. They're not stories, they're true. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try to read maybe 2 chapters if they're not too long for the next couple of shows, because I want to start reading after we're done with this. I want to start reading Matt Kahn's book. It's called something about love. I don't know the title, Love's Way or something like that. So that, I think that would be a really good one too.
Yes, and I think love is going to be blossoming on Earth as you know, we destroy the chaos machine, and as the 100% disclosure takes place, and we get rid of the interference of the negative ETs. I think love is going to really be blossoming, and it's going to be wonderful.
Well, I want to change. We're not going to destroy the chaos machine or whatever it is. We're going to put that to the highest good of all concerned, whatever that means, and we'll see. And we're going to do a little small meditation before that at a specific time, you guys. So this is important to bring the Diamonds Network energy out to the world, and this is very, very important. So be there, and I'll guide you through the meditation. I already got it downloaded into my heart and spirit. And after that, Candy, that I think is the last thing where things can really, really blossom. So we're going to even see the Diamonds Network, I believe, upgrading. And what I mean by upgrading is there'll be changes in the format. Somehow, some way, there always has been the Diamonds Network, which is onto a new and other things, which are all good, right? I don't know how it's going to turn out. I have no clue, you guys. I'm just saying that because I've seen the pattern through the last 3 or 4 years. But I'm excited, right? I like surprises, don't you, Candy?
Oh, I do. And friends, we're going to be back in 2 weeks, Elizabeth and I, carrying on our stories. And so tell your friends to listen to us on YouTube and come join us.
Yeah, and if they want to catch up on all our shows are on the YouTube channel, so if they want to catch up on either or both of the stories, Anastasia or Sunshine Before the Dawn, go listen to them on the YouTube channels. And last week I blogged a blog, so a blog in March is where all 8 chapters of the Sunshine Before the Dawn are. Okay. What do you think?
But I want to remind people, because it is springtime and that people are planting their veggies and their flowers, and so Anastasia recommends for your garden that you soak your seeds in your mouth and saliva for 9 minutes before you plant them, and then they'll have your DNA, and they can strengthen your rays and heal you when you eat the produce. And I did a little experiment a week or so ago. I did that with some cucumber seeds. And I planted in the same way cucumber seeds that I had soaked in my saliva, and then cucumber seeds that I had not soaked. And the ones that I had soaked with my saliva popped up out of the dirt 5 days before the other ones did.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love that story. I was going to say, that's a beautiful meditation and a beautiful project to do for everybody. And I can't wait to hear more stories, and I can't wait to hear even more stories from your cucumbers. That's cool. That's even an added glory to grow in your glory garden. You know, because gardens are fun to do and work with and watch them grow and eat it. But then doing your DNA in your own garden. I can't wait to hear more of your stories. And wait till you eat it. And I want to see what you feel like. You know what I mean? You know, our own urine is our own medicine. Call it pharmacy. You know, we drink our own urine. Some people do, and that used to be natural to us. So imagine soaking seeds in your own spit, your own DNA. Wow, that could be a medicine thing too, or something. That I can't wait to hear your. Hey, you might eat a cucumber and start levitating. Something, huh?
Well, you know, if my hair would turn black and my teeth would grow more enamel, I'd be happy with that too.
Oh my God, yes, Candy, intend that in your soaking your seeds that you have the hair color you want. Naturally, it'll come in. And whatever you want, do a project of youth and immortality with soaking those seeds and put intention into each group of seeds for your body. Serious, that'd be cool. For anybody.
And Christopher has scanned my farm. He says that a lot of elementals and fairies are gathering around to help me with my garden, and that there's a little gnome that's overseeing the whole project of the fairies helping me with my garden.
Awesome. And Andrew Barthes once told me, when I got a reading from him on the 99% quartz crystal beach in Florida, he told me to take a pouch of seeds of any kind, and wear them in like a little pouch around your neck for a couple days and sleep with them. Or I think the same aspect of soaking them in your mouth. But he did that for me to connect more to Mother Earth and for me to connect more to dream time. So you guys can do that same thing. That will work for you, too, as you soak those seeds in your mouth or wear them on a pouch for a couple days. Isn't that cool? That'll help ground us to Mother Earth more and be closer with her in dream time.
Well, it is. And of course, Anastasia, she walks on the earth. She does the earth thing and with Mother Earth. But she wants us to really take very good care of our feet. And she wants us to soak our feet in a pan of water in the evenings, and then take that pan of water out the next morning and put on our garden.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's nice.
And that way the plants are alerted to the toxins that are coming out of our bodies, and it adjusts ourselves over the course of the growing season. And so anyway, that's part of what I want to try to do more often this spring as well. So,
and every time you water the garden, whether you water it with a watering can or a hose, spit into the water, and every spit each day, you can have an intention for your garden and have an intention for when you eat the food in your garden. Be creative. This is, get your creative juices going. Be creative, and not just your garden, but other things you can think of that way.
Absolutely. Well, listen, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
Keep shining, you diamonds. Love y'all. Keep shining, you diamonds.
Are you looking for healing or a change in your life to help you enjoy it more fully? You might benefit from a galactic energy reading and clearing from Chris Jacobs. Chris will work with you on a soul level to clear unseen negative influences, implants, programs, contracts, and energetic blocks. Chris Jacobs is a gifted energy healer. Contact him today at ChristopherStephenJacobs@gmail.com.